The massive screen in Earth's central command center showed a fleet of unknown ships approaching the solar system. Everyone in the room fell silent. General Frank Higgins stood straight, his weathered face revealing nothing as he watched the alien vessels move closer. This was the moment humanity had both dreaded and hoped for, first contact with an advanced alien civilization. "They're slowing down near Jupiter's orbit," said Lieutenant Gary Peters, his fingers moving quickly across the control panel. "Their technology is unlike anything we've seen before." General Higgins nodded. "Send word to the President and the United Nations. It's time to activate the first contact protocol." Within hours, leaders from around the world gathered in an emergency session. After decades of small conflicts and border disputes, humanity faced something that finally united them. The aliens, who called themselves the Zalorians, had sent transmissions that Dr. Alan Porter and his team of linguists had partially decoded. They claimed to come in peace, Dr. Porter explained to the assembled world leaders. His glasses slipped down his nose as he pointed to the translation on screen. "They want to establish diplomatic relations with Earth." President Eleanor Wilson looked around the room. "Then we need our best diplomat to represent humanity." All eyes turned to Ambassador Diane Murray. At 53, she had resolved conflicts between nations that everyone thought would lead to war. She was known for her calm demeanor and sharp mind, exactly what Earth needed now. "I accept this responsibility," Murray said, standing tall despite feeling the weight of all humanity on her shoulders. In the days that followed, Earth prepared. The USS Horizon, humanity's most advanced spaceship, was readied for the diplomatic mission. Captain Olivia Wright oversaw the preparations personally. "The living quarters for Ambassador Murray are ready," she informed General Higgins as they walked through the ship. "We've installed the translation devices Dr. Porter developed." "And weapons?" Higgins asked quietly. "Hidden but accessible," Wright replied. "Though I hope we won't need them." Dr. Alan Porter worked day and night with his team to improve the translation matrix. He had studied the Zalorian language from their transmissions and believed he understood their basic communication patterns. "Their language is complex but follows logical rules," he explained to Ambassador Murray during one of their preparation sessions. "It seems they value precision and directness. Flowery speech might confuse or even offend them." Murray nodded, absorbing everything. "And what have you learned about their culture or values?" Porter shook his head. "Not much yet. They've been careful about what they share. But they seem to be a highly scientific civilization. They value knowledge and exploration." The day of departure came quickly. The USS Horizon was ready, and Ambassador Murray stood at the loading dock with her small team. She had packed lightly, just essential diplomatic materials and personal items. Dr. Porter approached her with a small device. "This is the latest version of the translator. It should help with any communication issues." "Thank you, Alan," she said, tucking it into her pocket. General Higgins was the last to say goodbye. His usual stern expression softened slightly. "Remember, Ambassador, your safety is paramount. If anything feels wrong, you return immediately. That's an order." Murray smiled. "I'll be careful, Frank. But this is bigger than any of us. This could change the course of human history." "That's what worries me," he replied. Captain Wright welcomed Murray aboard the Horizon. The ship was the pride of Earth, built with the best technology from all nations. It wasn't as large as the Zalorian vessels, but it represented the best of human engineering. "We'll reach the meeting point near Europa in 12 hours, Wright informed Murray. "The Zalorians have agreed to send a shuttle to bring you to their mothership." Murray settled into her quarters, reviewing all the information they had on the Zalorians. It wasn't much. The aliens had shared only basic details about themselves. They came from a star system 40 light-years away. They had been traveling for many years, and they wished to establish peaceful relations with Earth. As Europa came into view, everyone on the horizon grew tense. The Zalorian mothership was enormous, at least 20 times the size of their vessel. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Pete Daniels announced. The main screen flickered, and for the first time, humans saw a Zalorian up close. The alien had grayish-blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Its eyes were large and completely black, set in a face that was vaguely humanoid but with features that seemed somehow fluid. "Greetings, people of Earth," the Zalorian said, its words translated through Dr. Porter's device. "We welcome Ambassador Murray as representative of your species. Our shuttle will arrive shortly to transport her to our vessel for discussions." Murray stepped forward. "We thank you for this opportunity for peaceful exchange between our peoples." The Zalorian made a gesture that might have been a nod. "We look forward to learning all about humans." When the communication ended, Captain Wright turned to Murray. "Are you sure about this? Going alone feels risky." The Zalorians were clear. "Just the ambassador for now," Murray replied. "I need to show trust if we want to build a relationship." The Zalorian shuttle arrived an hour later. It was sleek and silent, docking with the horizon as if the two ships had been built to connect. Before boarding the shuttle, Murray addressed her team one last time. "Keep communications open. I'll check in every 3 hours. If all goes well, this will be the beginning of a new era for humanity." General Higgins watched from Earth as live footage showed Ambassador Murray walking toward the alien shuttle. His hands gripped the edge of the console tightly. "Be careful, Diane," he whispered. Murray entered the shuttle where two Zalorians waited. They were taller than humans with long limbs that moved with unusual grace. "Ambassador Murray, we are honored by your trust," one said, gesturing to a seat designed for human anatomy. "Our journey to the mothership will take approximately 20 of your minutes." As the shuttle detached from the horizon, Murray looked back at the human ship. It seemed small and fragile against the backdrop of space and the massive Zalorian fleet. Yet she felt a surge of pride. Humanity had come so far. The shuttle glided smoothly toward the mothership, which grew larger with each passing second. Its surface wasn't solid metal as human ships were, but seemed to shift and pulse with internal energy. "Your vessel is remarkable," Murray said, attempting small talk. "It has served us for many generations," the Zalorian replied. "Soon you will see much more. We have prepared extensive facilities for our discussions." As they approached the enormous ship, a section of its side seemed to dissolve, creating an opening for the shuttle to enter. Murray felt her heart race. She was about to become the first human to set foot on an alien vessel, a historic moment for all of humanity. The shuttle landed gently in a vast docking bay. When the door opened, Murray took a deep breath and stepped forward into history, unaware that her diplomatic mission would soon trigger the first interstellar war humanity would ever fight. 3 days passed with regular communications from Ambassador Murray to Earth. Each transmission brought positive news about the meetings with the Zalorians. Vice Admiral Gregory Wells monitored these communications from the Special Command Center set up just for this mission. He watched now as Communications Officer Lisa Tanner prepared for the next scheduled transmission. "Ambassador Murray should be contacting us in 5 minutes, Tanner said, adjusting her headset. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel as she fine-tuned the signal. Wells nodded. He had been awake for nearly 20 hours but refused to rest. Something about this whole situation made him uneasy. The Zalorians had been too accommodating, too quick to share some technologies while being vague about others. "Sir, it's time," Tanner announced, opening the channel. "Ambassador Murray, this is Earth Command. Do you copy?" They waited. Nothing came through but static. "Ambassador Murray, please respond." Tanner tried again, her voice remaining professional despite the growing tension in the room. Still nothing. Wells leaned forward. "Try the emergency channel." Tanner switched to the secure backup system they had established. "Ambassador Murray, this is an emergency check-in. Please respond immediately." The silence stretched on for another minute. "Something's wrong," Wells said, his voice low. He turned to his aide. "Get General Higgins and Deputy Ambassador Ross in here now." Within 30 minutes, the command center filled with key personnel. Deputy Ambassador Kevin Ross paced back and forth while Dr. Susan Miller, the psychologist who had been analyzing Zalorian behavior patterns, studied the last transmission they had received. "It doesn't make sense," Ross said. "The ambassador was just telling us yesterday how well everything was going." The Zolorians were discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. General Higgins stood with his arms crossed. Maybe their communication system is down. Both their system and the ambassador's backup device? Wells asked skeptically. That's too convenient. Lisa Tanner suddenly straightened in her chair. Sir, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the Zolorian mothership. Everyone turned toward the main screen where a visual of the alien vessel appeared. Parts of its surface pulsed with bright light. What are they doing? Ross asked. Doctor. Miller frowned as she watched. Based on previous observations, this could indicate increased activity within their ship, perhaps some kind of internal process. Or they're preparing their weapons, General Higgins said grimly. The hours dragged on with no contact from either Ambassador Murray or the Zolorians. Earth sent message after message, but received no response. The USS Horizon remained in position, watching the alien mothership from a safe distance. Captain Olivia Wright reported from the Horizon. The Zolorians have sealed all entry points to their vessel. No ships have entered or left since the energy surge began. In Washington, the president called an emergency meeting with world leaders. Some nations wanted to send military ships to rescue the ambassador. Others feared this would be seen as an act of aggression that could endanger Murray further. Back at the command center, Deputy Ambassador Ross worked with a team to review all previous communications with the Zolorians. He found something troubling. In the translation, Dr. Porter, Ross called out to the xenobiologist who was helping analyze the data. Look at this phrase they used repeatedly. Your translation shows it as mutual understanding, but the original word seems to have another meaning. Dr. Porter studied the alien text. You're right. It could also mean thorough examination or complete analysis. Languages are tricky that way. Words can have multiple meanings depending on context. Ross felt a chill run down his spine. So when they said they wanted mutual understanding between our species, they might have meant they wanted to examine us thoroughly, Porter finished quietly. Meanwhile, Dr. Susan Miller had been reviewing recordings of the Zolorian representatives. She noticed subtle patterns in their movements that she had missed before. These gestures, they make when discussing Ambassador Murray, she said, pointing to the screen. They're similar to how they gesture when discussing scientific specimens, not how they gesture when talking about their own leaders or equals. Vice Admiral Wells called General Higgins immediately. Sir, we have reason to believe Ambassador Murray may be in danger. The Zolorians might not see her as a diplomatic equal, but as a research subject. Higgins cursed under his breath. The President needs this information now. In the meantime, put all Earth defense systems on alert. Quietly. As tensions rose across the globe, the Zolorian mothership remained silent. Military leaders pushed for action while diplomats argued for more patience. Earth's space defense systems, hidden from the public for decades, were secretly activated. On the fifth day of silence, Lisa Tanner detected movement from the alien vessel. Something's being ejected from the Zolorian ship, she announced, her voice steady despite her fear. Small object heading directly toward Earth. Is it a weapon? Wells demanded. Negative, sir. It's too small. More like a probe or package. Trajectory suggests it will enter Earth's atmosphere near the Pacific Command Center. General Higgins issued orders immediately. I want that object intercepted and contained before it reaches Earth. Send the stealth retrieval team. Colonel Eric Johnson led the retrieval mission. His team specialized in space interception and had trained for years for a moment they hoped would never come. Their small craft, nearly invisible to most detection systems, launched from a hidden base in the Pacific. Target in sight, Johnson reported as they approached the mysterious object. It appears to be a container of some kind. No obvious weapons or propulsion systems. With precise movements, they captured the container in a specialized holding field and brought it aboard their craft. Package secured, Johnson confirmed. Returning to base for analysis. Dr. Nicole Patel, Earth's chief medical examiner, waited. In a sealed laboratory built for examining potentially dangerous alien materials, she had never expected to use it. The container was brought in under the highest security protocols and placed in a containment chamber. Beginning external scan, she announced to the observers watching from behind thick glass. Among them stood Secretary of Defense William Russo and Major Samantha Reeves from Intelligence. The scans showed organic material inside. Dr. Patel carefully operated the remote systems to open the container. Her face went pale as the lid lifted. Behind the glass, Secretary Russo turned away, while Major Reeves stared in horror. Inside the container lay Ambassador Diane Murray, or what remained of her. Her body had been methodically dissected, each part carefully separated and preserved. Beside the remains was a small device. Major Reeves activated it remotely. A holographic message appeared showing a Zolorian speaking in their language. The translation came through clearly. "We thank Earth for the excellent specimen provided. Our standard protocol for understanding new species has been completed successfully. The biological information gathered will be most valuable for our records. We look forward to further productive exchanges." The message ended. The room remained silent for several long moments. Finally, Secretary Russo spoke, his voice shaking with rage. "Get me the president! Now!" News of Ambassador Murray's fate spread quickly through the highest levels of Earth's governments. Secretary of Defense William Russo called an emergency meeting at the United Nations headquarters in New York. World leaders gathered in person, or joined through secure video links, their faces grim as they viewed the evidence. Dr. Nicole Patel stood before them, her voice steady, despite having barely slept since examining the ambassador's remains. Behind her, images and medical data appeared on large screens. Ambassador Murray was alive during most of the examination, Dr. Patel explained. The Zolorians used methods to prevent her from losing consciousness. They were methodical, starting with tissue samples before moving to more invasive procedures. Several leaders looked away from the screens. President Eleanor Wilson kept her gaze fixed on the images, though her knuckles turned white as she gripped the edge of the table. "In conclusion," Dr. Patel finished, "this was not a random act of violence. It was a carefully planned scientific procedure carried out with precision and purpose." When she stepped back, Secretary Russo took her place. The message accompanying the package makes it clear that the Zolorians consider this normal procedure when meeting new species. They expected us to understand and accept this. Major Samantha Reeves from Intelligence stepped forward next. She had dark circles under her eyes from working without rest since the discovery. "We've analyzed all communications from the Zolorians more carefully now," she said. "There are references to other species they have encountered. Based on our revised translations, we believe they have done this exact same thing to representatives of at least 7 other civilizations." The room erupted in angry shouts and questions. President Wilson raised her hand for silence. "What have the Zolorians said since returning the ambassador?" she asked. Secretary Russo shook his head. "Nothing. Our attempts to communicate have been ignored. Their ships remain in position near Jupiter." General Higgins spoke next. "Madam President, world leaders, we must consider that the Zolorians view us not as equals to negotiate with, but as specimens to study. Their silence suggests they are either preparing their next move or waiting for our response." "And what response do you suggest, General?" the Russian president asked from the video screen. General Higgins stood straighter. "We must show them that humans are not to be dissected and studied. We must show them that there are consequences for what they've done." The Chinese premier leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we go to war with an alien civilization whose technology far surpasses our own?" "I'm suggesting," Higgins replied, "that we have been preparing for this possibility for longer than the public knows." President Wilson nodded, slowly. "It's time to brief everyone on Project Guardian." The screens changed to show schematics of weapon systems and space vessels unlike anything publicly known to exist. For decades, major world powers had secretly built and hidden advanced military technology, preparing for the possibility of hostile alien contact. "We began this project 50 years ago," Wilson explained. "At first, each nation worked independently, but after the Climate Crisis Unity Pact of 2035, we pooled our resources and knowledge. Images of massive underground hangars appeared, containing sleek spacecraft with weapons systems beyond what most people thought possible for human technology. We kept this secret to prevent panic, the Japanese Prime Minister added. And to maintain the element of surprise should we ever need it. The Brazilian president spoke up. Are you certain these defenses will be enough against the Zolorians? Major Reeves stepped forward again. We've been analyzing their technology since first contact. They're advanced, yes, but not as invulnerable as they appear. They rely heavily on energy shields rather than physical armor. Our weapons were specifically designed to disrupt such defenses. Secretary Russo displayed a detailed battle plan on the main screen. We propose a three-phase response. First, we evacuate civilian populations from major coastal cities to underground shelters. Second, we deploy our orbital defense systems. Third, we launch our fleet with a clear message: leave our solar system or face destruction. The room fell, silent as the world leaders considered the options. This would be the most important decision in human history. The German Chancellor spoke first. What happens if we do nothing? If we try to communicate again? Major Reeves answered, based on their behavior with other species, they will likely continue their research. Next time, they might take hundreds or thousands of humans for study. President Wilson stood. I believe we have only one choice. We cannot allow what happened to Ambassador Murray to happen to anyone else. Earth must stand united against this threat. One by one, the world leaders voiced their agreement. The vote was unanimous. Then it's decided, Wilson said. Operation Righteous Response begins now. As the meeting ended, Secretary Russo approached Colonel Eric Johnson, who had retrieved the package containing Murray's remains. Colonel, I'm assigning you to a special mission, Russo said quietly. I want you to personally deliver Ambassador Murray's remains to her family. Tell them what happened and tell them what we're going to do about it. Johnson nodded solemnly. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, General Higgins met with Admiral Patricia Hayes, who would command Earth's hidden fleet. The ships are ready, Hayes informed him. Crews have been training in simulation for years. They can deploy within 12 hours. And the weapon systems? Higgins asked. Dr. Jack Bennett and his team have made final calibrations based on what we've learned about Zolorian technology. The pulse cannons should be effective against their shields. On screens around the world, President Wilson addressed humanity. She spoke of Ambassador Murray's courage, of the Zolorians' betrayal, and of Earth's response. For too long we have fought among ourselves, she said. Today we stand united against a common threat. We did not choose this conflict, but we will finish it. The Zolorians came to our home and treated us as lab specimens. They will learn that humans are not to be experimented on. We are not helpless. We are not defenseless. As she spoke, massive doors opened in hidden facilities around the world. In the deserts of Nevada, the mountains of China, beneath the waters, off the coast of Australia, and in the frozen wastes of Antarctica, Earth's secret fleet emerged. Dr. Jack Bennett watched from his laboratory as the ships he helped design rose into the sky. Next to him stood Lieutenant Commander Ryan Cooper, who had discovered a critical weakness in Zolorian ship design during his analysis. Do you think it will work? Bennett asked. Cooper nodded. Their shields oscillate at a predictable frequency. If we time our attacks right, we can break through. In cities across the globe, Governor Daniel Garcia and other regional leaders coordinated the largest evacuation in human history. People moved in orderly lines toward underground shelters built decades ago under the guise of subway expansions and climate disaster bunkers. As Earth prepared for war, the Zolorian ships finally broke their silence. A transmission came through to Earth Command. We notice unusual activity on your planet, the Zolorian representative said. Is there a problem with the biological samples we returned? We can provide more detailed analysis if needed. Admiral Hayes, now aboard her flagship, responded personally. This is Admiral Patricia Hayes of Earth Defense Forces. Your actions against Ambassador Murray are considered an act of war by all nations of Earth. You have 24 hours to leave our solar system or face the consequences. The Zolorian seemed confused. We do not understand your hostility. The examination protocol is standard procedure for all new species contact. Your specimen was handled with scientific care. Hayes cut the transmission. She turned to her bridge crew, her expression resolute. "Battle stations," she ordered. "The war for Earth begins now." Admiral Patricia Hayes stood on the bridge of her flagship, the EDF Avenger. The ship was enormous, over a mile long, with weapon systems that had remained hidden from the public until now. Around her, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire careers, though many had never believed it would actually come. "Status report," Hayes ordered. Commander Steve Grayson, her second-in-command, responded immediately. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The fleet is in formation. Lunar and Mars bases confirm their defense systems are online." Hayes nodded. Earth's secret military installations on the Moon and Mars had been disguised as research stations for decades. Now they revealed their true purpose as orbital weapon platforms activated across the solar system. "And civilian evacuations?" Hayes asked. "Governor Garcia reports 90% complete, Admiral. The remaining 10% should be in shelters within 6 hours." Hayes turned to the large display showing the position of the Zalorian fleet. The aliens had not moved from their position near Jupiter, but energy readings suggested they were powering up their systems. "They're preparing for battle," she said quietly. "They didn't expect us to have the capability or will to fight back." On Earth, Dr. Jack Bennett worked frantically in his laboratory. Screens around him showed data from the Zalorian ships. For years, his team had developed weapons based on theoretical alien technology. Now they had real data to work with. "Look at this energy pattern," he told his assistant, pointing to a wave formation on one screen. "Their shields pulse at regular intervals. There's a microsecond where they're vulnerable." He sent his findings to Lieutenant Commander Ryan Cooper, who was aboard the EDF Shadow, a smaller stealth vessel designed for speed and surprise attacks. Cooper received the data and immediately began adjusting the ship's weapon systems. "We'll only get one chance at this," he told his weapons officer. "When their shield cycle, we hit them with everything we've got." The Shadow was part of a special strike team that would target the Zalorian mothership. While the main fleet engaged the alien vessels, Cooper's team would slip through the chaos and deliver a devastating blow to the command ship. Back on Earth, underground shelters filled with civilians. The massive complexes had been built secretly, disguised as subway expansions or deep storage facilities. Now they served their true purpose, protecting humanity during an alien conflict. Governor Daniel Garcia walked through one of the largest shelters beneath Chicago. Families had set up living spaces in designated areas. Children played in recreation zones while adults watched news updates on large screens. "How long do we need to stay here?" a woman asked Garcia as he passed. "As long as necessary," he replied honestly. "But our defense forces are strong. We've been preparing for this possibility for generations." What he didn't say was that if Earth lost this war, the shelters were equipped to sustain human life for decades, a last resort to ensure humanity's survival even if the surface became uninhabitable. In orbit around Earth, the planetary shield network began to activate. Hundreds of satellites, previously thought to be weather or communication devices, linked together to create a protective energy barrier. It wouldn't stop the Zalorians entirely, but it would buy valuable time if the fleet failed. "Shield network at 60% and rising," reported the technician at Earth Command. Secretary Russo watched the progress with General Higgins beside him. "Will it hold against their weapons?" Russo asked. "Long enough, we hope," Higgins replied. "It's our last line of defense." The 24-hour ultimatum was almost expired. Admiral Hayes prepared to address her fleet. Her words would be heard by every ship, every station, every soldier and pilot in Earth's defense force. "Men and women of Earth," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Today we face an enemy that sees us not as equals but as specimens for study. They came to our home and treated one of our own, Ambassador Murray, as nothing more than biological material to be dissected and analyzed. They have done this to others before us, and would do it again if we allow it." She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew. "We did not ask for this fight. We offered peace and friendship. But today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be experimented on. We will not be studied and catalogued and filed away. We are not subjects. We are not specimens. Throughout the fleet, crews listened in silent determination. The Zolorians believe their technology makes them superior. They believe we are primitive and weak. Today we prove them wrong. Today we fight not just for Earth but for every species these aliens have treated as lab rats. Remember, Ambassador Murray. Remember why we fight. As she finished speaking, alarms sounded across the fleet. The Zolorian ships were moving, heading toward Earth at increasing speed. They've made their choice, Hayes said grimly. All ships, battle positions. Operation Righteous Response is now active. Earth's hidden fleet moved to intercept the aliens. Hundreds of ships formed a defensive line between Earth and the approaching Zolorians. For the first time, the full might of humanity's secret military technology was revealed. On the EDF Shadow, Lieutenant Commander Cooper reviewed his mission one last time with his crew. Their stealth technology would keep them hidden until the right moment. Then they would strike at the heart of the Zolorian fleet. Remember, he told them, timing is everything. We wait for the shield fluctuation that Dr. Bennett identified. Then we hit the target point with the pulse cannon. The Zolorian fleet approached rapidly. Their ships moved in perfect formation, a testament to their advanced technology and coordination. A transmission came through to Admiral Hayes. Your primitive threats are meaningless, the Zolorian commander stated. Your species has been evaluated and found unremarkable. Your resistance is both unexpected and futile. Stand down and submit to further scientific assessment. Hayes didn't bother to respond. Instead, she gave the order that humanity had been preparing for since they first looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. All ships, engage the enemy. Fire at will. Earth's fleet launched their attack. Space itself seemed to light up as energy weapons fired toward the Zolorian ships. The aliens responded immediately, their own weapons creating streaks of bright light against the darkness of space. The battle for Earth's survival had begun. Humanity fought with everything they had, not for conquest or glory, but because they had been pushed too far. The Zolorians had made a critical mistake. They had treated humans as specimens in a lab. Now they would learn what humans did when threatened. As the two fleets clashed in the void of space, one thing became clear. The Zolorians had underestimated humanity. They had expected easy submission from what they saw as a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves facing the full wrath of a united Earth, fighting for its very right to exist as equals in the galaxy. The battle between Earth's fleet and the Zolorians raged across the space near Mars. At first glance, it seemed the humans were outmatched. Zolorian energy weapons tore through several Earth ships in the opening minutes. Their advanced shields deflected many of Earth's attacks. Admiral Patricia Hayes watched from the bridge of the EDF Avenger as damage reports came in from across her fleet. She remained calm despite the losses. This was all part of the plan. Continue. The frontal assault, she ordered. Keep their attention focused on our main fleet. First Officer Linda Rodriguez moved closer to Hayes and spoke quietly. The Shadow is in position, Admiral. Lieutenant Commander Cooper reports they're ready to execute their mission. Hayes nodded. Tell them to proceed as planned, and signal all ships to prepare for Pattern Delta on my mark. The Zolorian High Commander observed the battle from the safety of the mothership. The alien watched with clinical detachment as human vessels exploded under the superior firepower of his fleet. The resistance was stronger than expected, but still doomed to failure. These humans are more advanced than our initial assessment indicated, the High Commander noted to his second-in-command. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but their tactics show intelligence. Should we proceed with full planetary subjugation once their fleet is destroyed? The second-in-command asked. Yes. Their biological uniqueness makes them valuable research subjects. We will require many specimens. Neither Zolorian noticed the small blip on their sensors. Captain Benjamin Ward guided the stealth vessel EDF Shadow through the chaos of battle, its advanced cloaking technology making it nearly invisible. Inside the ship, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Cooper monitored the energy readings from the Zolorian mothership. Their shield is following the pattern Dr. Bennett identified, Cooper reported. We'll have our window in 30 seconds. Ward nodded. All weapons, prepare to fire on my command. We'll only get one shot at this. The shadow moved silently toward the underside of the massive Zalorian mothership. The alien vessel was distracted by the main battle, its weapon systems focused on Earth's primary fleet. Back on the Avenger, Admiral Hayes received confirmation that the shadow was in position. She opened a channel to all Earth ships. All vessels, execute pattern Delta now. Across the battlefield, Earth's fleet suddenly changed formation. Ships that had been engaged in direct combat pulled back, while vessels that had been hanging back surged forward. The seemingly chaotic movement confused the Zalorians, whose rigid battle strategies hadn't anticipated such flexibility. First Officer Rodriguez smiled. "They're taking the bait, Admiral. Their formation is breaking to pursue our retreating ships." Hayes nodded. "Now we show them what humans can really do." Throughout the Earth fleet, hidden weapon systems activated. Ships that had appeared damaged suddenly powered up again. What the Zalorians had thought were primitive energy weapons were merely decoys. Earth's true weapons had remained concealed until this moment. On the shadow, Cooper watched as the energy pattern of the Zalorian mothership's shield reached the critical point Dr. Bennett had identified. "Now!" he shouted. Captain Ward fired the experimental pulse cannon. A beam of concentrated energy struck the mothership precisely when its shield was at its weakest point. The shield flickered and failed, leaving a section of the massive vessel exposed. "Secondary weapons fire," Ward ordered. A volley of missiles launched from the shadow, each carrying a payload designed specifically to disrupt Zalorian technology. They struck the exposed section of the mothership, causing a chain reaction of explosions across its surface. The Zalorian High Commander staggered as the ship shook violently. Warning signals flashed across control panels. "Impossible," the High Commander exclaimed. "How did they penetrate our shields?" Before anyone could answer, the ship rocked again as Earth's main fleet launched a coordinated attack. With the mothership damaged and the Zalorian formation in disarray, Hayes ordered the full deployment of Earth's true weapons. "All ships, unleash everything we have," she commanded. Across the human fleet, weapon ports opened to reveal technology that had been developed in secret for decades. Antimatter missiles, gravity distortion beams, and quantum disruptors fired in perfect synchronization. The Zalorian ships, their formation broken and their confidence shattered, began to fall one by one. On Earth, people watched through live feeds as humanity's hidden strength was finally revealed. In the underground shelters, cheers erupted as the tide of battle visibly turned. The Zalorian mothership, critically damaged but still operational, attempted to retreat. Admiral Hayes wouldn't allow it. "Target their propulsion systems," she ordered. "They don't get to run away after what they did to Ambassador Murray." The Avenger fired its main cannon, striking the mothership's engines. The massive alien vessel drifted helplessly in space, surrounded by the wreckage of its once mighty fleet. Hayes opened a communication channel to the crippled ship. "This is Admiral Patricia Hayes of Earth Defense Forces. Your fleet is destroyed. Your ship is disabled. Surrender now." There was a long silence before the Zalorian High Commander responded. "This outcome was unanticipated. Our assessment of human capabilities was incorrect." "Your assessment of humans was fatally flawed," Hayes replied. "You saw us as specimens to be studied. You failed to recognize us as equals." Earth's victory was swift and decisive. The remaining Zalorian vessels surrendered once they saw their mothership defeated. Marines from Earth's fleet boarded the alien ships, securing them one by one. Captain Ward and Lieutenant Commander Cooper received special commendation for their crucial role in targeting the mothership. Their precision strike had been the turning point in the battle. 1 week later, the Zalorian High Commander stood in Earth's United Nations chamber. The alien leader seemed smaller somehow, less imposing without the backdrop of advanced technology. World leaders gathered to witness a historic moment: the formal surrender of the Zalorians and the signing of the first interstellar peace treaty. Secretary Russo presented the document. "This treaty recognizes all sentient species as equals, with fundamental rights. It forbids experimentation without consent and establishes protocols for peaceful first contact. The Zalorian High Commander signed with a gesture that showed clear understanding of the defeat. We have existed for millennia, traveling between stars, cataloging species. Never before have we encountered one that could stand against us. We have much to learn from humans. President Wilson spoke next. This treaty is not just about our two species. It will serve as the foundation for all future relations between Earth and other civilizations we may encounter. After the ceremony, Admiral Hayes visited a quiet memorial that had been erected in honor of Ambassador Diane Murray. The simple stone monument stood in front of the United Nations building, bearing Murray's image and the words, "Her sacrifice united humanity and changed our place in the galaxy." Hayes placed her hand on the cool stone. "We did it, Ambassador. They'll never dissect another intelligent being again." As Earth began to rebuild and strengthen its defenses, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. Other species that had suffered at the hands of the Zalorians reached out to establish relations with humans. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and no longer would any species underestimate humanity. The remains of Ambassador Murray were given a hero's burial with full honors. Her name would be remembered in history books as the diplomat whose tragic death led to humanity's ascension as a respected power among the stars. Earth had gone to war for one reason. They returned our ambassador in pieces, but in doing so, they had forced humanity to reveal its strength and unity in a way nothing else could have done. As Admiral Hayes looked up at the stars from the memorial garden, she knew the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had announced its presence not through peaceful exploration as they had hoped, but through necessary warfare. And while she wished it could have happened differently, Hayes felt certain that no alien species would ever again make the mistake of treating humans as mere specimens to be studied.